ever seen the effect where something's completely hidden until you put a red filter over it, and then boom, the hidden message is revealed? That's called the red reveal effect, and I'm going to show you how to do that in Photoshop. This works using a trick with color perception. We place a pattern of pure red shapes over a hidden message or an image that's colored in a low opacity of cyan, which the eye can barely see through the red. But when you overlay a solid red layer on top of it and set it to multiply, it cancels out the red noise and reveals the cyan underneath. Magic? No, science. To do this in Photoshop, it takes 3 simple steps. First, let's start with our hidden layer underneath. So I just have a 1000 by 1000 Photoshop document here, and I'm just going to type out red reveal. I have this in just a chunky font so we can see what it looks like. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and I'm just going to copy and paste it a bunch of times. Now we want this to be pure cyan. So I'm going to go to my color picker, I'm going to go down to the C for cyan, make that 100%, and make them all 0. And this is pretty good. And one thing we want to do with this layer is we want to set it to a low opacity. So I'm going to do 10%, so you can barely see it. This is the start of the red reveal. What we need to do now is we need to make a pattern on top of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my own custom brush for this. So I'm going to make a new file. We're just going to make it 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels. And what we're going to do is we're just going to make noise and make it red. We're just going to make noise and make a brush out of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Filter, Noise, Add Noise. When that pops up, I'm just going to hit 400%, just hit OK. I'm going to turn this to a smart object. And then we want this to be a little bit more of a brush texture. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go to Adjustments. I'm going to go down to Threshold and put a threshold on top of it, which doesn't do anything right now. But if we go up to Filter, Gaussian Blur, we can blur it and it makes it look more like a natural composition notebook. So I'm going to have it set to 1 pixel and that's fine. But I want it to fill in a little bit more. So I'm going to duplicate it and I'm just going to rotate it a little bit and then set that to multiply. And then it adds a lot more darkness to it. And then we can play with the opacity. And this is pretty much what we want. So this is the pattern of our brush. So I'm going to go to File. Now I'm going to go to Edit. I'm going to define pattern and I'm going to type in red reveal pattern. So this is now a pattern. So we're going to make a brush with this pattern. So if I go to my brushes, I have just a hard brush here. We're just going to select the default hard brush. And then I'm going to hit New Brush Preset. And we're going to name it Red Reveal. Red Reveal. So it made a new brush. So all we're going to do is we're going to take this brush. We're going to go to the brush settings. So you can go up to Window and go to brush settings, but they'll pop up here. And what we need to do is we just need to check mark shape dynamics and we need to check mark texture because we want to add a texture to this brush. So what we can do is we can go to our patterns here. If you click on this button here and we can select the pattern we just made. Now it's not doing anything to our brush because we need to change mode to be multiplying. And now it looks like it's on there. We can also invert it or not invert it. So we have our brush made. Let's go back to our original composition. I'm going to make a new layer and we're just going to paint on that with that new brush we made. So here's the red reveal brush we made. I'm going to make the color be pure red with a 100% red like this and then paint. So this is a huge brush that fills up the whole space, but this is what we want because we can't see underneath it at all. And you can play around with the opacities of this to see if you can see it, but one thing we need to do is we need to set this red layer to multiply. So you can kind of see that it says something, but you can't really see it very well at all. So when you print this, you should be able to see a little bit of what's going on, but it would take some testing to make it work. But this is the red reveal. So now all we need to do is we need an object on top. So I'm just going to grab my circle here. I'm just going to make a red circle and then set it to multiply. And when you do that, it negates the red and it allows you to see the cyan underneath. So this is where you can play around and see if higher opacities work better. You're going to be able to see the text behind it better, but you might see it too much through the pattern. So that's why 20% or 10% works very well. And you can see there's a little bit of the pattern still on there because we didn't use actually 100% red. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go to red 255 and then paint. Except we're painting at an opacity of 20. Paint fully on top of that. And then we set this to multiply for both. And then the pattern goes away completely because it's actually full red. That's the red reveal effect. Super fun, super sneaky. If you try it, tag me online. I'd love to see what you come up with. And also make sure, like and subscribe if you want to see more Photoshop magic.